Today's headline is Incident at the Five Points House of Industry. The subheadline says, Rescue of a Mother and Free Children from Starvation and Infamy. This article originally came from the New York Musical World and Times. It says, Last week, I attempted a fate sketch of Mr. Peace's labors at the Five Points House of Industry. It was only a sketch. To be able to appreciate Mr. Peace's toils and sacrifices and self-denying labors, one must visit the locality. One must wind for those dirty streets and alleys and see the wrecks of humanity that meet him at every step. He must see children so dirty and squalid that they scarcely resemble human beings, playing in filthy gutters and using language that would curdle his blood to hear from childhood's lips. He should see men, made in God's own image, brutalized beyond his power to imagine. He should see women, girls of not more than 20 years, reeling about the pavements in a state of beastly intoxication, without a trace of femininity in their vicious faces. He should pass the rum shops, where men and women are quarreling and fighting and swearing while childhood listens and learns. He should pass the second-hand clothes sellers, where hard-featured Jewish dealers swing out faded refused garments, pawned by starving virtue for bread, to sell to the needy, half-naked immigrant for his last penny. He should see decayed fruit and vegetables, which the most ravenous swine might well root twice over before devouring, purchase as daily food by these poor creatures. He should see gentlemen fretting these streets, not to make all this misery less, God knows, but to sever the last thread of hope to which many a tempted one is despairingly clinging. One must see all this before he can form a just idea of the magnitude and importance of the work Mr. Pease has single-handedly and nobly undertaken, remembering that men of wealth and influence had their own reasons for using that wealth and influence and opposition to Mr. Pease to perpetuate this modern Sodom. One should spend an hour in Mr. Peace's house to see the constant drains upon his time and strength in the shape of calls and messages and especially applications for relief that his slender purse, alas, is often not able to answer. He should see his unwearied patience and activity, admire the kind, sympathetic heart, unaffected by toil or the frowns of temporizing theorists, ever warm, ever pitiful, giving not only the crumbs from his table, but often his own meals to the hungry, his own wardrobe to the naked. He should see this and go away ashamed to have lived so long and done so little to help the maimed and sick and lame to Bethesda's pool. I will relate an incident which occurred some time since at the House of Industry and which serves as a fair sample of daily occurrences there. One morning, an aged lady of respectable appearance called at the mission house and inquired for Mr. Pease. She was told that he was engaged and asked if someone else would do as well. She said respectfully, No, my business is with him. I will wait, if you please, till he can see me. Mr. Pease immediately came in when the old lady commenced her story. I came, sir, said she, in behalf of a poor unfortunate woman and 3 children. She is living now, and the tears dropped over her wrinkled face, in a bad place in Willard Street in a basement. There are rum shops all around it, and many drunken people about the neighborhood. She is made out to pay the rent, but has had no food for the poor little children, who have subsisted on what they could manage to beg in the daytime. The landlord promised when she hired the basement to put a lock on the door and make it comfortable so that the Croton need not run in, but he got his rent and then broke his promise, and they haven't seen him since. Is the woman respectable? Inquired Mr. Pease. Yes, no, not exactly, said the poor old lady, violently agitated. She was well brought up. She has a good heart, sir, but a bad head, and then trouble has discouraged her. Poor Mary. Yes, sir, it must have been the trouble, for I know her heart is good, sir. Tears choked the old lady's utterance. Recovering herself, she continued. She had a kind husband once. He was the father of her 2 little girls. 6 years ago he died. And the poor thing, oh, sir, you don't know how dear she is to me. And burying her aged face in her hands, she sobbed aloud. Mr. Pease's kind heart interpreted the old lady's emotion without the pain of an explanation. In the weeping woman before him, he saw the mother of the lost one. Yes, she was Mary's mother. Poverty cannot show her love. Shame and the world's scorn had only filled her heart with a godlike pity. After a brief pause, she brushed away her tears and went on. Yes, sir, Mary was a good child to me once. She respected religion and religious people, and used to love to go to church. But lately, sir, God knows she has almost broke my heart. Last spring I took her home and the 3 dear children, but she would not listen to me, and left without telling me where she was going. I heard that there was a poor woman living in a basement in Willard Street with 3 children, and my heart told me that that was my poor lost Mary, and there I found her. But oh, sir, and she sobbed, as if her heart were breaking. Such a place, my Mary that I used to cradle in these arms to sleep, that lisped her little evening prayers on my knee. My Mary, drunk in that terrible place. She was getting so agitated that Mr. Pease, wishing to turn the current of her thoughts, asked her if she herself was a member of any church. She said yes, of the Baptist church. She said that she was a widow and had 1 child beside Mary, a son, and her face lighted up as she said, "Oh, sir, he was such a fine lad. He did all he could to make me happy, but he thought that if he went to California, he could make money, and when he left he said, 'Cheer up, dear mother, I'll come back and give my money all to you, and you shall never work any more.'" I could see him now, sir, as he stood there with his eye kindling. Poor lad, poor lad. He came back, but it was only to die. His last words were, "God will care for you, mother, I know it, when I am gone to heaven." Oh, if I could have seen my poor girl die as he did, before she became so bad. Oh, sir, won't you take her here? Won't you make her good? Can't you make her good, sir? I can't give Mary up. Nobody cares for Mary now but me. Won't you try, sir? Mr. Pease promised that he would do all he could, and sent a person out with the old lady to visit Mary and obtain particulars. He soon returned and corroborated all the old lady's statements. Mr. Pease then took a friend and started to see what could be done. In Willard Street is a rickety old wooden building filled to overflowing with the very refuse of humanity. The basement is lighted with 2 small windows half underground, and in this wretched hole live Mary and her children. As Mr. Pease descended the steps into the room, he heard someone say, "Here he comes, grandmother, he's come, he's come." The door was opened. On a pile of rags in the corner lay Mary. My Mary, as the old lady tearfully called her. God of mercy, what a wreck of beautiful womanhood. Her large blue eyes glared with maniac wildness under the influence of intoxication. Long waves of auburn hair fell in tangled masses over a form wasted yet beautiful in its graceful outlines. Poor lost Mary. Such a place, as the mother had weeping said. Not a table or chair or bedstead or article of furniture in it of any description. On the mantelpiece stood a beer bottle with a half-burnt candle in its nose. A few broken, dirty dishes stood upon the shelf, and a quantity of filthy rags lay scattered round the floor. The grandmother was holding by the hand a sweet child of 8 years, with large bright eyes and auburn hair, like poor Mary's, falling about her neck. An older girl of 12 with a sweet Madonna face that seemed to light up even that wretched place with a beam of heaven stood near, bearing in her arms a babe of 16 months, which was not so large as one of 8 months should have been, whose little hands looked like birds' claws, and whose little bones seemed almost piercing the skin. The old lady went up to her daughter, saying, "Mary, dear, this is the gentleman who is willing to take you to his house, if you will try to be good." "Get out of the room, you old hypocrite," snarled the intoxicated woman, "or I'll," and she clutched a hatchet beside her, "I'll show you. You are the worst old woman I ever knew, except the one you brought in here the other day, and she is a devil outright. Talk to me about being good, ha, ha," and she laughed an idiot laugh. "Mother," said the eldest child, sweetly laying her little hand upon her arm. "Dear mother, please don't hurt grandmother. She is good and kind to us. She only wants to get you out of this bad place, where you will be treated kindly." "Yes, dear mother," chimed in the younger sister, bending her little curly head over her. "Mother, you said once you would go. Don't keep us here any longer, mother. We're cold and hungry. Please get up and take us away. We're afraid to stay here, mother dear." "Yes, Mary," said the old lady, handing her down a faded, ragged gown. "Here's your dress. Put it on, won't you?" Mary raised herself from the pile of rags on which she was lying, and pushing the eldest girl across the room, screamed out, "Get away, you impudent little thing. You are just like your old grandmother. I tell you all," she said, raising herself on one elbow and tossing back her auburn hair from her broad white forehead. "I tell you all, I never will go from here. Never. I love this place. So many fine people come here, and we have such good times. There's a gentleman who takes care of me. He brought me some candles last night, and he says that I shan't want for anything if I will just get rid of these troublesome children, my husband's children." And she hid her face in her hands and laughed convulsively. "You may have them," she continued, "just as soon as you like, baby and all, but I never will go from this place. I love it. A great many fine people come here to see me." The poor old lady wrung her hands and wept, while the children clung round their grandmother with half-averted faces, trembling and silent. Mr. Pease said to her, "Mary, you may either go with me, or I'll send for an officer and have you carried to the station house. Which will you do?" Mary cursed and raved, but finally she put on the dress the old lady handed her and consented to go with them. A carriage was soon procured and Mary helped inside, Mr. Pease lifting in the baby and the two little girls, and away they started for the 5 Points House of Industry. "Oh, mother," exclaimed the younger of the girls, "how very pleasant it is to ride in this nice carriage, and to get away from that dirty place. We shall be so happy now, mother, and Edith and the baby too. See, he's laughing. He likes to ride. You will love Sister Edith and baby and me now, won't you, dear mother? And you won't frighten us with the hatchet any more or hurt dear grandmother, will you?" Arriving at Mr. Pease's house, the delight of the little creatures was unbounded. They caught hold of their mother's faded dress, saying, "Didn't we tell you, mother, that you would have a pleasant home here? Only see that nice garden. You didn't have a garden in Willard Street, mother." Reader, would you know that mother's after history? Another Mary had bathed the Savior's feet with her tears and wiped them with the hairs of her head. Her name is no longer written Mary Magdalene. In the virtuous home of her aged mother, she sits clothed in her right mind, and her children rise up and call her blessed. This article was written by Fanny Fern. This story came from the great state of Pennsylvania, being reported in the Star and Banner of November 25th, 1853. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to continue to uncover all of America's lost and forgotten history, then remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.